Yeah, we can do all kinds of filler stuff.
Yeah, okay. Keep going. We're starting. Keep going. uh,
Oh, that's what we need to do. It's that
we
kind
need
of
a little bit of something to fill in that first couple of moments. Yes, we do. That sort of that blank screen looking around like, oh, here we are again. Oh no.
All right,
Okay.
are we live?
I think we're live. I'm just waiting to see if anybody's going to join us yet.
There we
Hey,
go.
yes.
It says 16
We are
people
there.
are on board, so
Yeah,
haven't seen
we
any
were
comments
there.
yet. Hey, there's the first
Hello.
comment. Hey, Mike, first comment. Yay. Hey, there's Chris from Northern California. Good evening, Chris. How's the weather in
Hey.
Northern California? Man, I wish I was out there today. Whew.
You know
That'd be
what?
beautiful.
I just,
There's everybody coming.
I just live in LA, so we're neighbors.
Yeah.
I'm in Lower Appahock.
Lower
Lower
Appahock. Yeah, the wrong LA.
This is San Jose.
Yeah. Hey, Paul Crowder from the UK. Welcome, sir.
Hey, Paul. And San Jose.
Awesome. Okay, we get everybody out here on Facebook too. Nice big crowd joining us tonight. Good evening, everybody. Okay, well, good evening, everyone, and welcome back to our Sunday night offering of Astronomy Outreach, the Sunday Night Astronomy Show. Yay!
You gotta get some green frog outfits.
Germany going or Bongo? What's his name?
Yeah, Bongo, yeah.
Gonzo.
Yeah, Bongo. Gonzo, that was it.
Gonzo.
Lonzo.
Okay, anyway, my name is Chris Kerwin of Astronomy by the Bay, and I'm a member of the Royal Astronomical Society of Canada, the New Brunswick chapter here in St. John. First of all, I'd like to welcome back our regular co-host, Mr. Paul Owen from the Moonshadow Observatory in Hampton, New Brunswick. In LA, Lower Appahock.
Lower Appahock, all the way from LA. Just in, boy, my arms are tired.
There, oh wow, yeah. And Mr. Mike Powell from the PFO Observatory here in St. John, New Brunswick. Hey, Mike.
Pretty far out.
Pretty far out, yeah. Thank you for clarifying that. Okay, on tonight's episode of the Sunday Night Astronomy Show, astrophotography without breaking the bank. That's our topic tonight. Astrophotography can be frustrating and expensive, but the results can be very satisfying. We can solve the frustration part with patience, mutual support, and time mostly, but what can we do about the cost? Well, tonight I'll be looking at astrophotography from a visual astronomer's perspective. That's me.
Yep.
On Mike's Gearbox segment, he'll discuss the options with using a star tracker. And on Paul's astrophotography tips, oh boy, it's going to be a long night.
He's been in the cat.
Yes. Paul's going to help us decide whether or not to buy the gear or just buy the data.
Yes.
Data or data. Well, it's data on Star Trek, so I don't know, data. Potato. Yeah, there you go.
Potato.
Bino Bud will be back with us as well tonight with another special binocular target. He hasn't told me what it is yet, but I'm just going to go ahead with it. Okay, it's a surprise. And Paul has another interesting Rosanna's Fun Facts segment to share with us as well. And we'll take a look at what's up over the next week. Not a whole lot of things happening in the night sky over the next week, but that gives you more of a chance to get out and take a look at your deep sky treasures and clouds and snow.
More clouds.
More clouds and snow. Yeah, not going to be much of a week anyway, I think, for weather-wise. And, of course, we'll have all your wonderful photo submissions to share as well. So, and stay tuned. No, we're not going to talk about the end of the broadcast. What we're revealing. We didn't talk about that tonight yet. What we're offering next week. We're supposed to do that. So, yeah, we'll figure it out and we'll let you all on Monday. Yeah. So sit back and grab your favorite beverage and snack and enjoy. And remember, this is a family-friendly live broadcast. So if you have any questions about the night sky or equipment, we'll try to get to all the questions we can as we're moving along through this. We're happy to try and answer them here for you. So let's get started, I guess, with tonight's program. So yeah, a lot of people having trouble with Facebook. And you know something, it's been Facebook lately because this is not the only live feed that I've seen that has had a lot of problems. I've been watching other live feeds from other people, and you get this scrolling or pausing. I'm watching my live feed going out right now. It's going pretty solid, but I've been watching it on the past, and it's been 2 seconds and then a delay for 2 and 2 on. So if you can't get a good result from Facebook, please remember that we are simulcasting on YouTube as well. It seems to be solid all the time on YouTube, as long as we stay live.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's my problem. So that's my
What
part.
do you get from
Yeah.
Sunday Night Show?
Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess I'm just going to start with what I'm going to present, and just need to find it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's right here in this folder called Sunday Night Astronomy Show, January 23rd. Okay, here we go.
Dun, 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 dun.
Ta-da! Okay. First of all, I better share my screen so you guys can see. I'll go with this one. And we'll do this as well. Okay. Let me drag this over here. Slideshow from beginning. Okay. You guys see that okay?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So to me, astrophotography for the visual astronomer. Well, I do outreach, and I don't do a whole lot of photography, but I love to capture a shot once in a while to help show the beauty that we all get a chance to see. So my slideshow here is just basically what you can do with a cell phone or just a simple camera. And for me, it's been a lot of evening sky kind of stuff with some background. Usually I try to get a sun or a moon in the shot. Sunrises and sunsets have been my favorite lately over the last little while, capturing them in places where I just happen to be at the right place at the right time sometimes. But a lot of it is solar or lunar. And I worked my way through that just like a sun pillar. I was driving on my way to St. Stephen for work, and I happened to look in my rearview mirror, and I saw this pillar popping up behind me. So I pulled over and stopped traffic and get out and took a quick shot. So, I mean, we all have cell phones with us. This is actually a cell phone picture right here from my Huawei P30 Pro phone. So I know that when a lot of people think about buying a phone, they're looking at communication, but a lot of times it can be something that we all get really good results with now with phones. I mean, I try to pick out a phone that's suited for astrophotography if I was going to select the next phone. This one has suited pretty well because it does have pretty good night sky opportunities with it. So these are all just either a simple DSLR, Canon EOS Rebel, that's all I'm using, or a cell phone picture. This one is actually cell phone. And there's a series of lunar shots. So I try to, again, I get the opportunity a lot when I'm out, when I'm looking at a crescent moon. I really enjoy the crescent moon. And when you've got a nice winter scene, or a Christmas tree even, we come across this stuff every day, and I guess we just don't take enough time to take a look up and see, some of the beauty that's there. So we just need to pause a little bit more often to try to capture it. So I worked my way through a lot of that, but then I know that there's a Milky Way shot from St. Martin's campground, and there is some nice Milky Way not very far away from us. We're very lucky that we don't have to drive very far to get ourselves into some dark skies. That's just a camera shot, a 4-second camera shot of Andromeda Galaxy with the sky in St. Martin's. So we're very fortunate in that means. There's Comet Neowise last year, just outside the Irving Nature Park. But of course, I do a lot of outreach, and I take my telescope along with me a number of times. So you have to try to, I have a lot of visitors that come by, and with that, they want to get a look through the telescopes. And this is a great spot, St. Therese Beach, where I set up, or I used to set up an awful lot. I really do miss it. I hope to get back there very soon. But anybody that comes by and you want to share with them how things work and what you're viewing, even when you're doing some solar observing, it's nice to share images of stuff that people may not have seen before. But this is something that's really new, is this cell phone on the telescope kind of idea, and I get a lot of that, and it gives people the opportunity to capture their own photo as they're checking out the night sky. So, I got a shot here of the moon, and this person takes a photo of the moon, and I can zoom in and I can show them the Apennine mountain range or the Copernicus crater or whatever. And we get to talking a little bit about what they're able to view. And of course, you know, in COVID times, this is the kind of thing that we kind of have to do. This is just my my cell phone with a cable running off into a 12-volt television. Mike came up with this idea. And I'm just displaying it to a few folks that were gathered around the monitor here, looking at it safely, you know, with our times the way they are. But one of the things it leads you to is you know, what do you want to use for an adapter to attach to a telescope to capture those type of images. You can hold your phone over the top of the eyepiece, but we're all a little bit shaky, and sometimes that can lead into issues to try to capture an image without losing focus. So I'll go through a few adapters here that I've looked at over the past little while. This is one of the cheaper ones I bought. It's a suction cup model by Explore Scientific. It runs around 20 bucks. You actually set your phone on top of the suction cup area here and snaps on it, and you just line it up with your eyepiece. And that works not bad, but centering can be a little bit difficult, and it only works with specific manufacturers' eyepieces as well, because you have to be able to have your eyepiece sitting below the actual clamp. So some of them don't fit in there very well. And I found that if you set it up at a 90-degree angle, if that suction cup area wasn't a little bit damp, it wouldn't hold your phone all the time, but it would actually drop. So you'd have to be careful where you're on a sidewalk or something like that could destroy your phone. Getting into another, like clamp models, these type here, you can see these on Amazon for 15 to 20 bucks now. They're very simple as well. This little pin loosens up, and it allows this top piece to switch back and forth to allow you to center up over your phone's camera, and it clamps down on top of the eyepiece. So very simple design. 20 to 40 bucks, reasonably priced. Secure fit. They don't have to worry about the phone falling out because it tightens in around your phone as well. But it doesn't accommodate all sizes of phones either, so you have to be careful. You have to actually take the measurements of this style and see if your phone is wider than that before you purchase it, of course, just to be sure that it's going to fit. You get into these ones here, the Steadypix Adapter, this one, an older style from Orion. I've had this one before. It works fairly well. It does clamp in the same idea, but it clamps in two spots here, so it's a fairly tighter fit. And it does clamp bolts up really nice around 1.25 inch eyepiece. So simple adjustment on it. It won't adapt to 2-inch eyepieces. There's other styles. This is the one that would be my favorite, I guess. This is the Celestron Xyz Adapter. This one I talk about a lot. And they run between $70 and $100. I think I'll be showing a slide here shortly where I saw the Canadian Tire for 62 bucks. So it'll fit all 1.25 inch eyepieces and some 2-inch eyepieces as well. So the idea is that you just take this clamp, you turn this thumb screw back, the clamp opens up, you put it over the top of your eyepiece, you screw the clamp back down again so it tightens around your eyepiece. And then you have 3 axes, so you can go the y-axis up and down this way, x-axis this way, and the z-axis back this way. So you can adjust the phone in 3 different directions to be sure that you're centered up over your eyepiece. And it does work pretty well. They're more expensive than the other types, of course. Rigid, don't drop it on a hard surface. It looks very rigid, very well built, but it'll shatter in 1,000 pieces, believe me. my first one did. Carrying too many parts at a time, and I dropped it on the cement floor, and that was it. It's my adapter of choice, so for public outreach and for live feeds, because I get a lot of people that come to my telescope, or used to anyway, again, with different sized phones, and it accommodates pretty well everything from the small little cell phones up to the big Note 8s will fit in it, as well as big Samsung phones. So it's the one I use for my choice, and it's the one I use a lot on Facebook Live as well. Here's another one I have, the Ioptron smartphone adapter. It's a very simple design. I wore out the pads actually on both sides of this. Usually all of the adapters that I've used, actually I wore them all out just from constant use. So the XYZ one was the one that had the best design as far as durability goes. But this one worked out pretty good too. It was very simple. Just this little thumb screw loosens on the back, and you can adjust it up and down to fit your phone. Again, it all depends on where your camera is located. But it was a very quick and simple adjustment, and I used that one for probably 2 years before I ever got the XYZ one. You cannot change the eyepiece on this one, though. This one comes with a 12.5 millimeter eyepiece with the adapter, so you can't change it to another one because it's threaded into this adapter here. So it's the only one that you can use with it. So if you have a telescope that has a really low focal length, you might not get as close to an object as you want. But remember, each of the phones, like my phone, has a 50 times a zoom, optical zoom on it, so you can zoom in quite a bit. Your clarity might disappear a bit, but you can still get in pretty close. From there, you can go to the Altair Astro Adapter, which runs between 100 and 130 bucks. They're a little bit pricey. The one thing about these is that they will clamp. This eyepiece will rotate a little bit, but they do clamp very well to the adapter. Your phone clamps very well to it, and it cannot drop out of it. Like it's in there very high quality clamps, I'll say. There you go. Do it yourself. there's a MacGyver one.
That's
I like
legit. Clamp it.
Yeah, there you go. Clamp it, Jed, clamp it. Oh no. Oh wow. Okay. Yeah, there it is.
That's right up my alley, that one.
Just a piece of plywood and a small piece of 1x3, I guess, and a little pipe clamp is all it is. Picked that up at Home Depot. Hey, Mike.
Yep.
A couple of elastic bands around it, and away you go. There's your simple. And if you're just using one phone, and you're not planning on switching it out to different models, that works great. So.
Oh, it's awesome.
Yeah, very cheap. And so which one is best? There's no real clear winner. It's all a personal choice. For me, the best one that I've found so far is this one as the second place, but the XYZ as the top of the line for me. And there's the XYZ. I got this tonight from Canadian Tire's website. So $62.99 in store. Only one left in stock. I didn't get it, but I already had one. But there was a couple in Sussex and a few in Fredericton, so they're quite popular, quite available now, and $62.99 is the best price I've seen. I've seen 75 to 80 bucks at the telescope stores, and you got to pay for shipping. So if you're interested in getting one, they do work very well. They actually do have as well. They're very well engineered. They have little screws on the back side of this plate and on the back side of the other plate. And over time, once you move these things back and forth in the X and Y axis, they loosen up a bit, so they'll get a little bit sloppy. So these little screws are tensioner screws. You can turn them in a little bit, just little bits at a time, and it'll tighten up the whole mechanism. So that really helps out a lot. Now, what can you see when you've got an adapter and you've got a small scope or a spotting scope or a pair of binoculars? I mean, well, we all get a nice view of the moon, and nicer views of the moon when you're using a little bit larger telescope. But there again, that was on my my 4-inch telescope, zoomed in about 50 times on my phone. So that's a beautiful mountain range there on the moon, Apennines. Little nice view of it. There's a Lunar X, features that we see on a normal basis throughout the lunar phase. And you can even, then you can start looking at doing videos, and I capture the Apennines there with Eratosthenes, that crater at the end of. And this is the kind of stuff I would capture when I'm out, and or if I was live. So they work really well for that type of thing. This was the Lunar X passing by one evening when I was over in PEI. So this is a telescope. I was using a Dobsonian telescope, so it didn't track anything across the sky. So the object, in this case the moon, was passing through my eyepiece that quickly. That's how quickly the Earth rotates. Of course, you can get into capturing sunspots if you've got a solar filter on the front of your telescope, and then maybe even some solar flares if you're lucky enough. This was the same filter, but the phone allows me to pick up a little bit of H alpha for some reason out of that little telephone. You've got opportunities to offer people, views of things like Jupiter and its 4 little moons passing through the eyepiece. Not much of a view, but for public outreach, this is what kind of is fascinating to people, that they can see 4 moons around another planet. Then you've got, a little bit better view of Jupiter if you want to shoot it by itself without overexposing to get the moons. Sometimes you can get the bands. This again is through my 4-inch telescope. Then Saturn, this is through a little bit larger scope. That was through my 8-inch telescope. Of course, it's staying settled in one spot. I don't know if you can hear the sound there or not, but that's at the beach and the waves are crashing in the background. Nothing better than looking at the night sky when you've got the waves in the background crashing. So from there, you can move into something like this, which is an Altair Astro camera. So it's basically a fancy webcam that's plugged into a program called SharpCap, which connects this webcam to your laptop, and then you can start to collect fumes. That's me talking.
Trying desperately here to get a view.
Okay. Get out of that. and then after a while, if you get enough frames, you can stack your frames up and get some kind of an image. For me, that was good. That's as best as I'm going to get. Or an image of Saturn works along the same way. So just capturing from the start. A little bit shaky because the telescope was shaking there and the wind was shaking the telescope. This was a capture of Venus and the Crescent Moon. Mike, I remember you and I were down at the St. Rest Beach one morning and captured that view. Crescent Moon with Crescent Venus just popping out around the corner of it. Comet Neowise again. That's just with the phone. I did a live feed on that with that one as well. I remember had quite a number of people online offering it live, but that's basically the view I was getting live through the phone through a small telescope. It was nice and bright though too. These are kind of neat. This is a star cluster, so this is M3, Messier 3, so it's a cluster of about 50,000 stars in a big ball. We call them a globular cluster. And phones are getting good enough that that's not a real good capture. I wasn't tracking very well, but that was a 4-second capture of Messier 3. And this one was a 8-second capture of the Whirlpool Galaxy. A little bit of crud down here in the corner of my lens, but a little bit longer, and I may have been able to get something a little bit nicer. But phones have moved up a lot, and this is mostly done through this little telescope here, this little Orion Starblast. The one before it was done through my 8-inch Celestron telescope, but a lot of my offerings, if I'm outside and I want to quickly take a look at the night sky and I want to share a view with you on Facebook, I'll use this little telescope. It's a little tabletop Dobsonian. And there it is sitting at the beach for if any children were coming by and want to have a look through the telescope and try it out, they could. Sitting beside a Dob, a homemade Dob here. Just a smaller, it's a mini model of a Dob. That was this little picnic table I picked up at Canadian Tire. So the Orion Starblast, that little one that we showed there, that runs about $339. This is today's price. La Maison de l'Astronomie, they're in Montreal. There's 2 telescope stores in Montreal, and that's their today's price, $339, which isn't bad for a 4.5-inch Starblast telescope. So very simple design. I'm going to show it here in a minute. A few people have seen it before. And there's a Skywatcher Heritage 130. So that's another one that's a collapsible Dob. So this front end actually collapses down inside here. So it's nice and easy and portable to take with you. So you can attach a smartphone adapter. And there's me doing that same idea, but just offering a view of the moon to some folks on Facebook from my favorite location, which I hope to get back to real soon. So anyway, that's all I was going to offer there. So I guess bottom line for me is that I'm a visual astronomer. I like to get out and capture some of the beauty that I see. I always try to travel with a cell phone with me. I do travel southern New Brunswick with my job, so I've been on occasion carried my little EOS, Canon EOS with a 18 to 55 millimeter lens on it and a small tripod. And because you never know what you're going to see, like you never know what's going to come across your path that particular day. The clouds may be just right that you get a nice shot of the sun peeking through the clouds, or a nice moonrise. So we all carry these with us now, and they're getting better and better with the quality with these phones. So I don't have a problem snapping a shot like this, and especially when you throw it up on a place like Facebook, because it compresses it so bad. It doesn't look very, very great anyway. It's not most my shots aren't going to be something that I'm going to frame and put up on the wall. Unless I gave them to Paul or one of these 2 guys process them for me. If I was able to capture the raw image and get a lot of data and pass it to one of these guys, I'm sure they can make beautiful results out of some of the stuff I send. But for me, it's just a matter of being able to share that image with somebody online. Hey, look, this morning, did you catch the moon today? Or what about that sunset? Wasn't that beautiful? That kind of thing. And a lot of mine is just live. I've done over 1,000 live feeds now in the last 5 years. Over 1,000, so it's added up. But it's been amazing to be able to offer that much just through a phone. I haven't used anything more than a phone to do it. It's never been on DSLR or anything else. So it's been a great for me as far as astrophotography goes. That's as deep as I get into it. So these 2 guys are going to talk more about it. All I'm going to say about what I would be doing is that there's my 4.5-inch Orion tabletop Dobsonian that I talked about. Again, just up and down, right and left, that's all it takes. You have a finder on it, an eyepiece, you're all set to go. The one in the back is the one that I showed the last clip of. That's a Skywatcher 130, so a 5-inch around diameter scope. If you were going to track, you'd want to use a mount that does do tracking for you. So that's a Celestron Nexstar SE mount. If you want to get longer exposures with a cell phone, and cell phones are able to capture some more long exposures lately. There's my little Altair Astro GPC 224 webcam or Astrocam, which I set in my eyepiece location, hook up to my laptop, and run my SharpCap software off of that. And most of the images that I offer to people online when I'm offering a view of the Crescent moon or Jupiter and its moons is just through this little guy, this Astrotech AT72 ED refractor. That guy there I bought in 2005. Yeah, so it's been 16 years old now, and I've offered that through more live feeds than any other live feed, I think, because it gives me a nice big wide piece of sky. I can get the whole moon in the shot. I can zoom in some, so and I can set that on a very portable mount as well. So it's a nice lightweight ED refractor, so it gives a nice crisp image, and it's pretty well all I've used, eh, Mike?
Yeah.
Most times I'm out, I have that on my SE mount. Other than that, it's a cell phone on a simple tripod with a hand grip on it, a pistol grip, and I've got my cell phone just sits in here. So when I'm offering a view of the sunset or whatever, that's all I'm doing is setting my phone in here and offering a view of the sunset. I might zoom in on the moon or something like that, or a sunrise, but it's very simple to me. But it's more to me to get you out to take a look at what I'm looking at. It's to try to open the door up to welcome you into astronomy. So that's why I'm not into it as deep as these guys are. That picture behind you, Paul's looking at there, that's astrophotography. We're going to talk about his picture here. Amazing shot here too very soon. So I'm going to pass that off of my talk, and going to leave that next talk now to Mike, because Mike's going to talk to us about star trackers. The next step, the next level up when we talk about astrophotography.
All right. I guess that's going to lead into the gearbox. So I got to share a screen. This one. Share. Hopefully we have a gearbox screen showing up there.
We do.
All right. This is the first time I'm not going to put a whole bunch of words in front of you. I just got a bunch of pictures and I'm going to kind of wing it. So bear with me. But keeping along the same lines, talking about astrophotography and things like that, I'm going to do a quick talk on star trackers. And you wonder what star trackers are, and we'll get into that in a minute. But when I first started getting into astrophotography and astronomy, I thought I needed the biggest piece of glass with the biggest mirrors and the biggest mount you ever had to get in order to get a picture of the night sky. And trust me on this one, when you take all that gear and you load it all up and you set it all up and you get your batteries out and you get your cables out and you get your scopes out and you get everything put together, and you can see it is tiring. It can get very tiring after a while, setting it up, tearing it down. The other thing I found with these big fancy scopes, trust me, we were all that way that day. But anyway, what I did find with big glass is, you get some nice astro images, guaranteed. You know, whether you use a DSLR or a dedicated camera, it doesn't matter. You get some phenomenal pictures. But I wanted to say get a picture of the Pleiades through that 9 1/4 inch, and guess what? I get 4 stars. I don't get the whole Pleiades because it's a 2300 millimeter focal length. I'm zoomed right in. I wanted to get a picture of the Andromeda Galaxy. I get parts of it, not the whole thing. So I'm going, well, yeah, I thought this was the way to go with the biggest glass and the biggest mounts and everything else. And it wasn't giving me what I was looking for. I wanted to get wider fields of view in order to capture some of these big items. I'd love to get, say, the Vale Nebula or get the North American Nebula. And you can't get that in a 9 1/4 inch scope. So moving on, what did you have in the past? Well, there was something actually called a barn door tracker. And a lot of people have been around. You've seen them. They're basically 2 pieces of plywood slapped together with a 1/4 by 20 threaded rod. And the goal was every once in a while you turn that knob once a minute and the little platform would spread apart a little bit, just enough and it would almost work out to the same rotation as the stars moving across the sky. But when you look at them, again, they're kind of bulky. And, you know, bulkiness is not what you want if you want to get out there and grab a quick gear and get out and do some astrophotography. You really want to lose the bulk and get something that's more attuned to what you're doing for a DSLR camera. Modern day now, they've come out with these things called star trackers. And these are incredible little rigs in a small, small package. And if you want to talk portability, this is the way to go if you're using a DSLR camera, which you can use for day and night shooting. And this just adds more flavor to that DSLR camera to give you the opportunity to shoot at night. Saying that, what is a star tracker? It's an essential piece of gear for astrophotographers' use. It's like a mini equatorial mount, and they're more commonly known as star trackers, and it's for wide field astrophotography. These devices were invented to allow small telescopes or cameras to automatically track objects in the night sky without having to manually move the mount and to keep the objects in your field of view. And they are extremely, extremely portable. The one thing that you have to know about them is you have to polar align them. I'm not going to get into what polar alignment is. We've all sat through and listened to the different discussions here and there on polar alignment, but it is a must that you do a polar alignment in order to get these trackers to literally track across the night sky like this track or picture on the bottom. Once you're getting your polar alignment done, you're off to the races. Unless you were, and I borrowed a couple of Trudy's pictures here, unless you're purposely shooting star trails, which Trudy did phenomenally in these shots, this is what's going to happen if you don't track with your mount. Saying that, pictures like these are fantastic. They're gorgeous to get a nice star trail shot. Look at the reflection in the lake in that shot. It's just incredible. And this one with the aurora in the background. But if you're looking to shoot a star field, like over here on the right-hand side, you don't want these star trails. You want nice, sharp, pinpoint stars. Or if you're shooting an object, like a nebula, you want a nice pinpoint nebula and not this big ball of fuzz because you're not tracking. So you have to be able to use a tracking mount in order to get these, and these star trackers do exactly that. Now, I can throw it out to the world. There is many, many different types and configurations out there. They all do roughly the same thing. It's a personal flavor and personal choice what you want to use. And the prices, the cheapest ones can range basically from $150 to some of the better, or more expensive ones. I won't say better, but more expensive ones up into the $650 range if you push it. But they all essentially do the same thing. You can mount your DSLR camera or even your cell phone on it, or even a small telescope on it, and it'll work perfectly fine. Here's showing the star trackers with DSLR cameras and large lenses on it, which makes it very adaptable, and a cell phone actually set up on one. Here's a use if you're going to use small wide field telescopes, anything 50, 60, you might even be able to push it and put a 70 millimeter scope on it. That's the versatility of these things. You can go from, a cell phone to a small APO telescope on it, and you're going to get a wonderful, wonderful picture. Excuse me. Here are some photos. With the tracker, you can see Andromeda. Nice pinpoint, sharp, wide field shot. Here's Orion, the Milky Way. And if you're not using a star tracker, here's M13. And this is what you'll get. Before I lose the lung. Okay. The advantage of star trackers. Hold on. All right. They're fully self-contained with a self-contained power source. They allow for long exposures, very quick to set up and align, very lightweight and portable, great for travel, great for camera lens astrophotography, and great for small scope astrophotography. So, where's my next slide here? There we go. This is what it's all about. Star Trackers. You want to get out there, be portable, have a good time, get some beautiful, beautiful night images. I'm telling you, this is taken away from telescopes, but it's the way to go as far as astrophotography goes, because you get wide field and you can track the night sky all night long with it. And they are totally self-contained, totally portable. You don't need battery packs, laptops, dedicated cameras. These things are the way to go if you're getting into any kind of wide field astrophotography. And that is my gearbox talk on Star Trackers. They are incredible.
Indeed.
Awesome,
No
Mike.
two
Yeah. If you want to get started, that's the best way right there.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're so versatile. You can use them for anything.
Yeah.
I
And
want
they're
to-
great too for doing time lapses.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Chris,
Didn't even touch on that part of it, but yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think it was Josh on YouTube was asking about, he said he's having some trouble. His next YZ got a bit loose and I'm having trouble getting it just right again. So Josh, I'm going to show you here. You can see it on the camera or not. Right up in there, there's two little screws. So those screws are your tensioning screws I spoke about.
Can you point at them, Chris? Because it's hard to see them.
Right in here. There's one there and there's one over there.
Yeah, they're very small.
Very
Yeah,
tiny.
right at the bottom of the base.
Yeah, right there. There's two there, so that allows you your adjustment back and forth this way. That tightens it up that way. There's also two right there on the side, little tiny screws, right in here. And then there's two on this piece. Where are they at? Right there on that side. So there's two tiny ones there. So each one of them, I wouldn't turn them any more than one turn at a time because they are tiny screws and they can break, they can crack. But take a look to see if those screws are, if whatever axis it is, whatever axis is the one that's doing all the moving on you, try tightening those two tensioning screws. Just take a look around, and it just takes a little tiny flat screwdriver or Phillips. I think it's
I would
Phillips in this
suggest
case.
a quarter turn at a time because I have stripped one.
Yeah, okay. And if you tighten them too much, you're not going to be able to move it around much. But this one here is very loose again. I just tightened that probably a few weeks ago, but I've used it a number of times since then. So that's the way to adjust. That's what I like about these type is that they can be tightened a bit when they start to wear out. There's really no other pad here that's going to wear out. Your phone just kind of sits in this spring. I've never seen one of these break. But that's where so you've got 6 screws altogether, 2 on each axis to adjust. Hopefully that helps. Okay, Mr. Paul.
Right.
Now we're going to say
Okay.
we're not going to buy anything.
No.
Are we, Paul?
All right. Well, what I'm going to talk about tonight, for those people who are actually anywhere, but if you're in Canada and you're a member of RASC Canada, or if you're a member of your local, provincial RASC, you are a member automatically of RASC Canada. And they, a couple of years ago, through donation and through some fundraising and whatnot, they actually put a telescope, and a very nice telescope, which I'll cover in a second, down in California. And so now, if you want to, you can actually buy data from RASC that has been taken from this telescope. And I'm going to get into all that. So basically, Chris started out with, if just to start looking at astrophotography, it doesn't have to be expensive, and it can be a lot of fun. And if you want to get your feet wet, a cell phone through the eyepiece, and even through binoculars, or even Lisa, our friend, uses hers through a spotting scope. All of those things you can do astrophotography with. And then from there, you want to graduate into something a little bit more serious, because now you get the bug and you want to have, get the opportunity to do some more things like deep sky astrophotography. Then what Mike was talking about with small telescopes, or even camera lenses, which are, in a sense, small telescopes on these trackers, so you can track the sky. So now if you want to go to the next level, this is where it gets interesting. So I'm going to share my screen. Chris, I'll get you to pin me when I do this. And you can go ahead if you will. That way there, you don't have to look at my ugly mug on the side. Okay, so my talk tonight is about the RASC Robotic Telescope, and we're going to get basically right into it. So the Robotic Telescope, when it was developed, its mission was for science, and basically it wanted to find exoplanets, supernova, and variable stars. It was also designed for classroom outreach. So basically for basic classroom outreach, where kids can use pre-existing data and process pictures and kind of get their feet wet into sort of semi-scientific, sort of semi-fun research. And then there's advanced, where students can acquire their own data and process of exoplanets. And so what they do is they actually use this telescope to look for the little light dark things when planets are crossing in front of stars, and so on and so forth. And some of the advanced students will actually get really involved in that, do some amazing things. And of course, it's also used for photography, and it's got both mono and one-shot color camera on board. And it was designed to provide equal time exposures on various targets to create consistency in the data. So that just simply means if you were going to buy the data, each data set that you buy is very consistently done. They use pretty much the same amount of time and the same procedure on each data set that you get. And so you can get various levels of data for easy to advanced processing. That just simply means that if you want to order all of the frames, say, for example, if you're doing a red, green, blue, you can order all the individual frames that made up the red, the green, the blue. Then you can get all the calibration data. So if you want to learn how to put all that stuff together yourself, you can do that. Or if you just want to buy the master light frames and just start processing from there, you can do that too. It's also being used from Sky News magazine, which is Canada's only astronomy magazine. And myself and Alendria Bringes, she's the editor of Sky News magazine. And what we're doing is we're doing an 8-month online YouTube / I think it's on Facebook too, but series on how to process this data. So when you get it, we're using PixInsight as our choice of processing software. And we're showing you everything from, these are all the buttons on top, and this is how you open it, right to, from start, right to actually finishing a project. So so we're doing that for a series of 8 months. Right now we're into coming up to month number 5, I do believe it is. And we're having a lot of fun with it. So if you want to watch any of those things and get an idea how to process stuff, go on to YouTube, just type in subs and stars, and you'll find us. I think we've got 4 videos up there already. So where is this telescope located? It is located in the Sierra Nevada mountains, and it hosts more than 4 telescopes. Now, this particular site that it's at, they've got, like, it's not just the RASC telescope that's there. There's a whole slew of telescopes that are in there. And if you look at the map here, it's showing you right here in Auberry, California, but the actual site is actually closer to the Nevada border, up in the mountains. So that's where the telescope is housed. Now, the company that houses the scope is called the Sierra Remote Observatory site. You can go online, look them up, and go onto their page, and you can learn all about what it is that they do. But they use telescopes for hosting remote imaging, satellite tracking, communications. So they do a bunch of different things there, depending on what the telescope is being used for. You'll also notice that there's 4 main buildings that'll house a whole bunch of telescopes. And then there's other people who have got their own private sites that are there as well. And I think our telescope is right here. The RASC one should be right in there, if memory is any good. Now, the reason that you would want to take images from there, as opposed to where we live in Canada on the coasts, is because the seeing conditions are, and I won't get into the technicality of it, but let's just say that when you look at a small pinpoint star and you actually take a picture of a small pinpoint star, it's as small and pinpoint as it's ever going to be onto your sensor, because the air is so dry and the sky is so dark that you don't have to worry about going through as much atmosphere, because it's actually elevated 4,600 feet. And because it's so dark and the air is so dry, you don't have to deal with a lot of moisture. So you don't have those atmospheric things that take little tiny pinpoint stars and spread them out a little bit more, called seeing. So the better the seeing, the smaller the star will appear when you take a picture of it. The worse the seeing, then the stars start to spread out and get a little washy looking. So anyway, so their skies are the best that you can get around. They're out of all the clear nights they have, it's 290 clear nights a year. Now, there's nobody that we hang out with that gets 290 clear nights a year. You might get 290 clear nights in 10 years if you're lucky. So they have consistently clear, dry skies. And the dark sky magnitude there is measured at 22. Basically, if you had a meter and you measure the sky, the darkest you can possibly get is a 22 reading. So they have the best of everything with those conditions. The equipment that they use is very, very, very nice equipment. The telescope is a Ritchie-Chrétien design, and that's the same thing that was on the Hubble. The Hubble telescope was actually a Ritchie-Chrétien design. So it's the same design as that, so to speak, smaller, of course. This one is a 16-inch mirror, so it collects a lot of light, especially in those dark skies. And it's got a focal length of 3,550 millimeters. That's a very, very long focal length. And so when they take images of things, lots of times they're not getting the whole image, like Mike was talking about, getting this wide piece of sky that you get all of your target, plus a whole bunch of stuff around it. When you're taking images with a scope that's 3,550 millimeters, you're getting portions of these larger targets. So you may have to do what they call a mosaic, where you would take 3 or 4 images, stitch them all together, then you would have a complete one. But because you're getting in so close and you're getting in so tight to the target, the resolution is unbelievable. So coupled with the telescope is this S-Big camera. S-Big stands for Santa Barbara Instrument Group. And the camera that they're using is a 16 megapixel, 4096 by 4000, so it's a square sensor that's in there. And it's a monochrome camera, and it uses filters to be able to capture the data. So you can't just take one picture and have your picture ready to go. You got to take it in stages because you're using various filters to get various elements. And they're tracking all of this on a Paramount ME mount, and I think they call that the Paramount ME. To give you an idea of how much capacity that will hold, you take those EQ6 Skywatcher mounts that you see a lot of people have. They'll hold up to 40 pounds, 42 pounds for observing. For imaging, maybe 25, 30 pounds. If you want to image all night and get real good tracking, that's kind of what you're looking at. That mount there, this Paramount, its payload capacity for imaging is 240 pounds. So you can put a much larger scope than that 16-inch Ritchie-Chrétien on there if you want to. So it's all professional grade. The filter and filter wheels, again, these are S-Big filters. They're actually made probably by somebody else, but to S-Big's specifications so that they work perfectly with the camera. And also it's a 7-position filter wheel. And the 7 positions are because you're going to have 7 different filters that you're going to use in the run of well, depending on what you're shooting. You won't be using all 7 filters, but a variety of them. You can shoot both monochrome and one-shot color. Now, the kids that were doing those projects, I think they just got finished doing Andromeda Galaxy, or not Andromeda, M42, the Orion Nebula. And on top of that, Ritchie-Chrétien telescope rides a Canon 6D with a 200 millimeter lens on it. So that's a one-shot color. I mean, that's what a camera is a one-shot color. So when you take the picture, all the colors all at once, and there you go. So that's the color part of it. And then the monochromatic part, of course, is you're taking individual filters. So I'll take all my reds first, and I'll take all my blues, take all my greens, take luminance, or whatever it is you're going to use. And each time you do that, you're getting a much, much more sensitive sensor there, because there's no Bayer matrix or this Bayer filter array over the front of the sensor. So it's a much more efficient way to do things. You can do what they call color mapping. What color mapping is, all that means is, if you've ever looked at any kind of software, like you're looking at Photoshop, when you look at your channels, you got red, green, and blue, right? Well, what color mapping is red, green, and blue, called RGB. But you can also assign different filters that, like, for example, hydrogen alpha, you can assign that to the red channel, or you can take sulfur 2 and assign it to the blue channel. So all you're doing basically is taking whatever filter you want and you're assigning it to one of those 3 channels, and how you mix it up will give you different kind of results. So this one here was red, green, and blue. That was all shot separately, and luminance, which is just basically mono picture, but you're just trying to get details and brightness, and then hydrogen alpha, and it was all blended together to make that photograph. You can do what they call show. Show just simply means that we're using narrowband filters. We're using sulfur 2, hydrogen alpha, and oxygen 3, thus the name show. And a lot of people will call that the Hubble palette. You can do standard kind of a look to the image. This is just LRGB, so it's just red, green, and blue, but taken separately, and then a luminous channel to give you basically the brightness and detail that you want after you've blended all your colors together. So that's basically what color mapping is. It's just taking whatever data you have, putting it in that red, green, blue channel in whatever way that you want to get the various results. So, so this is where the whole talk that we're doing tonight is based on, is how can you do this without costing a lot of money if you want to try it first. But let's talk about how much it could cost you. So in Chris's method, you probably already have a cell phone. And if you're just going to buy the adapter, well, the $62 plus tax, let's call it $70. If you happen to go around any place where there's people showing views of the night sky like Chris is, when things are not in a pandemic, you'd probably go down there almost every night of the week if it's clear. So it doesn't cost you anything for a telescope. You can say, hey, Chris, take my phone, if you don't mind, put it on, and I'm going to put it on my next YZ mount because I bought one. I want to try it out. Do you mind if I hook it up to your telescope? Absolutely. And he'd be happy as a clam to do that for you. That's the easiest and cheapest way to get into it. The next step would be the way that Mike was talking about. And Mike, of course, was talking about star trackers and just using your camera and lens on a star tracker. It's going to cost you somewhere, say, $500 to $700 by the time you get all the goodies and get it up and going to give you a night of astrophotography, or a little bit less if you already own the camera. So that's an inexpensive way to get into a little more advanced astro imaging. What you're looking at here is probably at a consumer level, the most that you'll get into doing something before going into that professional grade, like we just showed you in California. So basically what you have here, what does it take to do at home? So at home, well, you're going to need a camera. So that's what that red device is right there. You're going to need a filter wheel and filters if you're shooting monochrome. That's what that device is right there. You're going to need a flattener reducer so that your stars are nice and pinpoints to the edge of your image. That's what that is right there. You're going to need an electronic focuser because you're not going to stand out there and do focus adjustments. You're going to let the computer say, okay, it's time to focus. It'll do it for you. You don't have to be there. You're going to need a telescope, like you see right there. And that one, just that telescope alone, just the scope, no goodies, nothing, just the telescope is around $4,500, just to give you an idea. You're going to need a guide scope and camera. So that's the little tiny telescope that's on top. And then you're going to need a camera because this is the one that keeps you locked onto the stars. So as the thing moves throughout the night, if your mount makes a shift, it's going to stay on the star. It'll send the command to the mount saying, you know what? We're not letting you make a mistake. We're keeping you locked on. It's called a guide camera. So you're going to need that. You're going to need power and data devices. So that blue box you see up here controls data on one side and it controls power on the other side because there's a lot of things that you need to power up. You're going to need a German equatorial mount so that you can track your sky properly. So that's that white Sky Watcher one that I told you will handle up to 40 pounds. You're going to need a tripod or a pier to set it on. And you're going to need software and lots of it. Now, the other things you're going to need is you're going to need clear skies. You're going to need everything working. And you're also going to have to be able to troubleshoot if it's not working, because if something fails, looking at all that components, looking at all that power, looking at all those cables. And first you have to figure out, is it an electronic problem? Is it a mechanical problem? Where do I go? So anyway, all of that comes with experience hooking this stuff up and learning it. You're going to be going out to multiple nights because in most cases, we don't have a lot of clear nights in a run of a night. And even if you do have what looks like a clear night, the sky may not be good enough to shoot images with. You're going to have to know how to set it up and tear it down if you don't have an observatory. So there's the time to set it up. There's the time to tear it down, which in a lot of cases happens within an hour and a half because you set it up for 45 minutes. The clouds come rolling in, you tear it down for 20. So you've got that going on. And then you've got the observatory knowing how to operate all of this stuff. This is what it takes to take an astro image at home. Now, I'm not saying that in a way to discourage anybody. I'm saying that in a way that if you're the type of person that loves a challenge, loves electronics, loves mechanics, loves all of this stuff, and you want to get into astro imaging and have the satisfaction of grabbing your own data, this is what it's going to take. Now, I just gave you the price of the telescope. Forget about everything else. Let's just say it's a lot more. So that's what it's going to cost you to do astrophotography at a certain level from your house or dark sky locations, which is another thing. If you live in the city, you're going to have to boot her out to the dark skies unless you want to shoot narrowband all the time. Okay, so how can I do this on a budget? I'm going to show you. You ready? I'd like to order some data, please. That's it. That's all you got to do. Pick up the phone, call Rask, say, look, I want to order some of your data. They're going to sell you 30, get this, 30 targets for $100. Think about that. Is that a value? I think so. And two things and two ways to look at it. A, you can look at it to say, okay, I want to learn how to process and stuff. And a lot of people will buy all this gear first. They'll go out there, get frustrated with it, and never process a picture and sell the stuff because they just decided they can't do it. Don't put yourself through that. The second thing is I want to learn how to do this, and I want to take my time to build up my system to get it to where I want to do it so that I can get this data on my own. For $100, that's going to be one little piece and part that you'll buy in a whim throughout this chain of buying all this stuff that'll sit up on a shelf you never see again. 30 images for $100 of the very best data you can get from the very best skies, from some of the very best equipment. So there is the most inexpensive way to find out, is astrophotography for me? Because you have to learn to process your data. If you're not going to process your data, don't do astrophotography. You're wasting your time. If you're going to observe, you can do all these things for observation to a certain point. There's a lot of stuff you wouldn't need, but in any event. So that is my yak on that. So $100, 30 images from the very best that you can get it, or go through what most of us go through, buy all the pieces and parts, trade this piece for that piece, trade this piece for that piece. That one rig that you see sitting there was an accumulation of probably about 15 rigs by the time you go through all the equipment and figure out what it is you want to do. So that's it. That's my my talk on the easiest way to get into deep sky astrophotography by using the best data.
It's an awesome concept. It really is. Like to spend $100 to find out whether you want to spend 10,000. Really,
That's just getting you started.
it's like taking it for a test drive, right? So yeah, right. I mean, and that 30 images. I didn't know you could get that much. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's a year's worth. You can buy a year's worth of data.
Wow. So again, you can take Photoshop or whatever, drop it into that, and learn how to use the software to manipulate it before you ever get into the hobby to saying, I want to do something like you have in your background. Yeah. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, to do something like that, that equipment that you saw, that's my rig. So that's what I had to use to get this image.
Yeah. Awesome. No, great idea. We did have, what was the question here? Chris Larson said, what's the fun in that though? Yeah, true. It's the frustration. If you find
you don't need a cat.
Mike, can you just kind of point your camera around your room?
Yeah. Yeah. Just take
have
a peek.
That's the fun, right?
This is what happens. Yeah. This is what happens when you become obsessed. And they're all, you notice they're all lined up at exactly the same angle, and they're all facing the same way.
Yeah.
So
Mike, that's Mike's way of getting his 50 frames. He just
Yeah.
takes all the telescopes and takes one picture each.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a true mosaic. Yeah.
Yeah, true. Mary's asking a question for Paul. How long does RASC have that telescope, and how many years will that telescope last before it becomes obsolete? Just wondering.
Uh, that telescope will last a long, long time. The thing about telescopes is, providing that the optics don't go sour or south, they'll last as long as you want to keep them there. In the conditions that they are in those dry sky conditions, and it's warm, it's not like up here in the winter or anything. So the conditions aren't changing a lot, so you're good for that. The only thing that you may have to change over time would be probably the camera, because that's the electronic piece that eventually will wear itself out.
Yeah.
Those Paramount mounts, they last so long. It's just unbelievable. But when you spend the money that you spend on a Paramount mount, they're designed to be put in observatories,
Yeah.
and they're scientific grade, so they're going to last as long again as you want to keep them. So.
And RASC is fully invested into this now, so they're going to continue to keep that thing up and running with the. They're actually using it for research as well, for exoplanet research, I believe, aren't they? Yeah. So, yeah. So, okay. I know we're running long here, folks. Tonight we're at 9 o'clock already. So I don't know where we want to go. Do we want to continue on? We do have photos to show. I'm good. Yeah, we're okay. If everybody's okay, if people want to stay, they can. We'd love to see you stay. We'd love to see you stay. That's armchair astronomy, Paul says. Yeah, true enough. But it's a great way to learn if you want to do it. That's the whole thing. And it's the same thing with telescopes. Are you going to go out and spend $1,200 on a 12-inch telescope, or $2,000 on a tracking telescope, or do you want to spend $300 on a small telescope to see if you enjoy being out under the night sky? There's one thing about saying you love to look up, but then you have to love to look up for hours at a time. You're not going to be out there for 20 minutes. You're going to be out there for maybe a whole evening. And can you get comfortable? Can you be warm? Think about a chair. All those kind of things are all necessary so that's why I say, when you start into the hobby, start with binoculars. Like, that's the same kind of idea. Like, we suggest people start with binoculars, learn your way around the sky first before you ever invest in a piece of equipment. Not saying that you could never sell that telescope again for $300, because you could, because prices just keep going up and the sky's never going to change, especially with a manual telescope. So the idea Paul suggests about getting the data and trying it first, seeing if this astrophotography is for you, then but that's why I share these guys' photos. I just do outreach. I just share their photos. What's that?
Doing what we do, Mike's sitting in his observatory, and I'm sitting in the chair that I sit in mine. So I don't care if you're cold, man.
Yeah, that's right. It doesn't matter. There was one other.
I'm 18 to 20 degrees up here, and I'm just toasty.
Paul Crowder's asking, he had adapted his 8SE mount to accept a DSLR and now thinking about using a wedge also. Have you yourself used a wedge with your 8SE? I haven't used one. Have you guys used a wedge with?
Mike has.
I've used a wedge on a 6SE, and I used a wedge on an LX90 Need.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's the only way to go in order to do astrophotography with that setup.
Yeah.
Because you have to turn it into equatorial mode, and that's what the wedge does.
Because you can't get long exposure with Alt-Az anyway, so.
Well, Alt-Az, it's always going up and over, up and over, up and over. And once you put it on a wedge, it's just the one rotation.
Yeah.
So.
And with an 8SE, that's not a lot of weight to lift. I mean, you're talking about 11-inch. You're really talking about.
Yeah.
But 8 would be.
You can do planetary with the Alt-Az.
Right.
Because you're taking your picture so fast. But for anything that's long exposure, you're going to get field rotation. You're going to get all kinds of stuff that you can't you can't do without tracking the sky properly.
Right.
Yep.
Okay.
If you watch your hand pad, notice the RA and DEC on an object will not change. And all you're tracking an object with when you're doing astrophotography is the RA. Yeah. But if you watch the Alt-Az, it's changing consistently, and that's not what you want. So that's why the wedge will eliminate the Alt-Az portion of it.
Awesome. Great. Thanks. I hope that answers your question, Paul. Some people say they're staying tuned in. Perfect. We're going to keep going then. Lisa said, don't forget the bug bites in the summer. Absolutely, Lisa. That's always a good point.
I got screens on the windows.
There you go. Okay, let's move from there to, let's do albino bud next, maybe. And then we'll do a Rosanna talk and then some photos of the week.
Shove that to the side.
Oh, Jesse says, looking behind you, that's quite the rigs you have. I'm looking into my future. Uh, she said,
Oh,
been doing
absolutely.
astrophotography for 3 years, just switched from one-shot color to mono, and the clouds came in the box.
Yeah, these have been
Absolutely.
through a lot of clouds for sure. There's actually a forum about astronomy. You can go take a look at it. It's called cloudynights.com. And it's listing of all these people that go in and talk about different topics. So try that out, Jesse. Okay.
Alrighty.
All right.
See if I can get through this one without losing a lung. My unobserved binocular target of the week this week is the Triangulum Galaxy.
It's
I think
Triangulum
he's
Tim.
cute myself, but anyway. Alrighty, the Triangulum Galaxy is a spiral galaxy 2.73 million light years from Earth in the constellation Triangulum. It is cataloged as Messier 33 or NGC 598. Triangulum Galaxy is the third largest member of the local group of galaxies behind the Andromeda and the Milky Way, and is one of the most distant permanent objects that can be seen with the naked eye. So, where do I find it? Well, a lot of us look for the Great Square of Pegasus. Now, this is at 10 o'clock at night at 270 degrees west. If you go out at 9 o'clock, Pegasus sits a little higher. But point yourself roughly 270 degrees pointing to the west. You'll see the Great Square of Pegasus. And we all find Andromeda by coming off of Pegasus, the Great Square, and going 1, 2 over, and then 1, 2 up to find Andromeda. Well, if you come 1, 2 over and go the opposite direction, about the same distance that you would go to the right to Andromeda, you go left and you'll find the Triangulum Galaxy. It's right there. And it's actually very easy to spot. Now, I'll just come in a little bit. Here's these two stars that you would come down off the Great Square of Pegasus, 1, 2, and go 1, 2 to the Andromeda Galaxy. We'll go in the opposite direction, say 1, 2, and there's M33 right there. And it's quite a big target when you think about it. You can't miss it. You'll see it. What will you see? Well, you're not going to quite see this, but it would be nice if you saw this. It's, with the colors and the detail in there. But in 10 by 50 binoculars, you will see this. So it's a good size. It's very easy to spot with, the background behind it. It stands out all by itself, and you really can't miss it. You'll know when you're on it. Just like finding Andromeda, go the other way, you'll find M33. Compared to the full moon, in dark skies, you're at least double the full moon, maybe 2.5 at the most. So it's a good sized target, easy to spot, shouldn't be an issue. Now, since we were talking about astrophotography, this is the future of post-processing in astrophotography.
I like that. I could do that. I could do that.
Post-processing or post-painting?
We're just picking a color palette.
Color mapping.
Yeah, there you go.
There's Bino Target of the Week by Bino Butt.
Awesome. Thanks, Mike. Another great one. Another easy one to find, and another enjoyable one. That galaxy, I believe, is face on. It's not a really bright one because it's face on to us too, so a lot of that light gets dispersed. But nice target. Thanks.
Yeah, you get out in dark skies, you'll see it. But,
yeah.
You look over the city to the west and you won't see it, but if you get away from the city, definitely easy to spot.
We'll be talking about those soon too. Our Star Party events coming up. I'll be mentioning that this week too. The dates of our coming Star Parties for this year. On a future post this week. Paul, do you want to go ahead with the Rosanna's fun fact, and I'll do what's up this week after that?
Okay.
Okay. So this week.
Let me share my screen. And there.
Rosanna presents us with.
You can pin me. That would be great. And this week.
Rosanna's fun fact.
Hey!
Back, Rosanna. Good to see you again. Wow, she has got another amazing fact this time, and it was something I think a lot of people, may have overlooked. Anyway, I won't give it all away. So let's get right into it. So she says, "Hi, Paul. I confess I am trying to avoid new information about COVID as a topic, and the misinformation around it has worn itself to an annoying level. However, I'm always ready for new spectacular information in the astronomy category, even if it has to be adjusted correct later. And this week, there was exactly that. Yesterday, a friend tagged me in a post from the James Webb Space Telescope. James Webb's, that's not hard one, Space Telescope Facebook page. The post started with the headliner, "The clearest images of Jupiter ever taken," which implied that perhaps it was the James Webb Telescope first ever pictures of Jupiter. Wow, that was fast considering
Oh
the
no.
launch was just Christmas Day. I thought the pictures looked familiar, but then I looked at a lot of pictures. I sent the Facebook post to a few friends and also to my brother Roop and his partner, Isabel. She's an astrophysicist. And they mentioned that the post reads, "The original image was captured by JunoCam, the camera on NASA's Juno mission in orbit around Jupiter. This image was taken on Juno's 22nd close pass by Jupiter on September the 12th, 2019, and the image processing done by Pratik. I decided to pay a little more attention and then discovered that it was not NASA's page for the James Webb Space Telescope either. It's a public James Webb Space Telescope Facebook page sponsored by a group. The nature of the universe with 191.7 thousand members, all astronomy-minded enthusiasts. And that is just how slight misinformation travels by a few easy clicks." There's another image of that same run.
Yeah.
So now on to some real news. February is technically 9 days, 5 hours, and 16 minutes away as of the writing of this fun fact. But a report printed in the February issue of the Astronomical Society published by the American Astronomical Society has the headline, "The TESS Tech Survey 8, Confirmation of a Transiting Giant Planet on the eccentric 261-day orbit with the Automated Planet Finder Telescope." That's a lot. Now, we report the discovery of the TO1 2180b, a 2.1 mass of Jupiter's giant planet orbiting a slightly evolved G5 host star. Now, Emma Chapman, in the introduction of her new book, First Light, says, "Well, once we celebrated the discovery of new stars and new galaxies, now we barely lift an eyebrow if we discover a new planet." Now, I disagree. I'm sure I lifted both my eyebrows. She laughed. Now, this discovery of the TO1 2180b is exciting, and who wouldn't want to be part of it? A team of citizen scientists has uncovered a Jupiter-like world roughly 379 light years from Earth. And here's one very happy co-discoverer, Tom Jacobs, a citizen scientist who collaborates with professional scientists to look for exoplanets at the Halakeka, I said that right, Halakela High Altitude Observatory site in Hawaii. And the photo, of course, is from Tom Jacobs. Now, according to NASA, the planet called 20121b is roughly 3 times more massive than Jupiter, but has about the same diameter. Now, through computer models, astronomers have determined the new planet may have 105 Earth masses of heavier elements than hydrogen or helium. This planet is also warmer than the average room temperature here on Earth at 170 degrees Fahrenheit, but its distance from its star suggests it should be chillier. Now, certainly it is much warmer than our solar system's outer gas giants. It has 261 day a year. It has a 261-day year, and scientists are gearing up to watch its transits, its star in February. Now, this is an artist's projection of what this particular planet could look like. Very Jupiter-ish, but much denser. Now, even on the hunt for new information or information presented in a new way, I came across this mesmerizing Kepler Orrery video, and I'm going to try to play it in a second. An Orrery is a mechanical model of the solar system used to represent their positions, motions, and orbits in relationship to each other. In this case, it is a digital, and it represents all of the Kepler multi-planet systems, 1,815 planets and planet candidates in 726 systems, from Kepler's original mission as one of the announcement of Kepler's end of life, 30th, and that was the 30th of October 2018. The systems are shown together at the same scale as our own solar system, and the colors of the planets denote their estimated equilibrium temperatures. Now I'm going to try to play that and see if we can actually see it. Commercials first.
What you doing there?
So this is time that's evolving as they're watching all of these things. Also note on the left-hand side of the colors are represented in terms of the surface of Venus, lava, and the equilibrium temperature. So these things, that these various colors are showing you various temperatures. So that's basically that that part. So as I watch this video full screen at least once a day, a great COVID news stress reliever. It is. You watch that. It's so relaxing to watch. So every day brings new information, and although much of it has to be sifted through for legitimacy, there is always something to capture one's imagination. And you are misinformation. So, just so you know, legitimate scientists tend to publish their research in academic journals and not on YouTube.
Yeah.
True.
Or Facebook.
Yeah.
This week's
Rosanna's Fun Facts.
Awesome. Yay.
Yay. Thank you so much, Rosanna.
Awesome as always.
Thank you.
As
Yes.
always, entertaining
Awesome.
Yep.
and interesting. But it just goes to show you, when you're reading some research or what you deem to be real, have a look at the credentials as where's that information coming from.
Yeah.
And lots of times you're going to find that, maybe not so.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Rosanna. Awesome.
Lisa says she's a graduate of the U of Tube.
Yeah. That's where you learn that the moon and Mars are going to be the same size.
Yeah, that happens a lot. Yeah, I see a lot of those posts.
And we're gonna have Northern Lights tonight.
Yeah. Thank you, Rosanna, very much for that. Again, another great, and that's a very popular thing. Misinformation is out there a lot. If we ran a conspiracy page, it would take right off.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I could be misinformation and Mike could be Mr. Wrong.
Yeah,
Oh, that's easy for me.
I've never been Mr. Right all the way along, so it doesn't matter. Okay, let's go to with what's up this week. Not very much to share here, so hope you can bear with me, because there really isn't a whole lot happening this particular week anyway. But there is a lot happening coming up for sure.
Clouds, and more clouds.
Yeah, well that's what I figured. I might as well not get too deep into it because it's going to be cloud anyway. So what's up this week in the night sky, or in the sky at all? Today, actually, Mercury is at inferior conjunction. So what does that mean? Well, the planet Mercury now is between us and the sun today. So just a second, make sure that Facebook is still live. It doesn't look like it is. Yep, there we go. Okay, we're good. Okay.
Yep.
Planet Mercury is at inferior conjunction today, placing it between us and the sun. Now, it's not directly in line, as we can see here, because Mercury is an inferior planet, though. 13 times a century, Mercury will transit right across the face of the sun if viewed from our point of view. But we need to wait a while for the next one, which won't occur until November the 13th of 2032. So another 10 years. But it's because of the tilt of Mercury. It's only about 5-degree tilt with respect to the rest of the plane of the planet. So every once in a while, when Mercury is at the right location, just like the moon or the sun and the moon alignment that we have when we have a lunar or solar eclipse, they don't happen very often, but you still have to have that same alignment. So Mercury has to pass through what we call the nodes, where all the planets are lined up and Mercury is off on an angle a little bit. When it passes through a particular point and we're lined up with the sun at the same time, then we'll get a transit of Mercury passing across the face of the sun. This time around, no, but it is in inferior conjunction. But what it means is that Mercury was in our evening sky. It's now in between us and the sun, and very soon, by 1st of February, Mercury is going to join our morning planets. So all the planets have now shifted, or the majority of them are going to shift from our evening sky over to the morning sky. So the show is now the morning sky for the next little while, anyway, up till about June or so. From there, Jupiter continues to be in our evening sky. The planet Jupiter now has become our evening star, which Venus was, as Venus moves to our morning view. You want to enjoy Jupiter for just a bit longer because it's getting lower in the west every night now, and it sets before 8 p.m. now, so it's pretty early. Venus and Mars in our morning sky. So Venus has now returned to our morning sky. It's the morning star. A lot of people have commented that they've seen it really nice and bright there in the morning sky recently. It's joined reddish Mars in the sky and reddish Antares as well as there. So Antares is actually the rival of Mars. That's Greek. Aries is Mars, and Antares is the rival of Mars. So that's why Antares is called that name. So you can compare the reddish tint of the star Antares with reddish planet Mars. Antares, if you put Antares in the same location as our sun, Jupiter would be inside it. That's how big it is. It's huge. Huge, as Donald Trump would say, huge. Tuesday, January 25th, third quarter moon. Our moon enters its third quarter phase at 8:40 a.m. on Tuesday. That's Atlantic time. Third quarter is a perfect time to check out the many fantastic features along the Terminator line, that line that separates day and night on the moon right there. Along with the most popular craters like Copernicus sitting there, and this beautiful mountain range, the Apennines, and there's Eratosthenes, and all of the nice big craters down here on the South Pole. So really nice time to do some viewing of the moon. Of course, always nice to be viewing the moon, but at this point right here, you don't have to have too much filter installed on your telescope. Saturday is the next biggest event, really. Saturday, January 29th, when we have Venus, Mars, and the Crescent moon in the sky. Set your clocks for an early rise on Saturday for one of the best displays of the month, a beautiful grouping of brilliant Venus, reddish Mars, and our thin crescent moon. Our moon will offer a similar view on Friday, but it will be a bit farther west of the two planets, sitting over this way some. We've got many more such events like this on their way this year. There's a whole pile of conjunctions coming up, really close conjunctions. We have 2 lunar eclipses coming up this year, so we've got a whole lot to look forward to with the celestial events or planetary alignments and celestial events this coming year, along with all the other things that happen like meteor showers and that kind of thing. But it should be an exciting show in the morning sky because Jupiter's going to join, Mercury will join the show first, and then Jupiter will join the show, or Saturn, sorry, and then Jupiter last. So we'll have 5 planets in our morning sky come about April, which is going to be pretty fantastic. Saturn has that superior conjunction on February the 4th. That's the next thing for it. So Saturn has become very difficult to view in our early evening sky right now as it approaches superior conjunction, which means that it's on the opposite side of the sun from us. It will soon join the morning planets of Mercury, Mars, and Venus. Winter grouping at its best. This is called the winter football, the winter hexagon, the winter circle. I've seen it called a lot of different things. But whatever you call it, there's still enough of the sky to keep you interested in this section of sky that rises early evening. This is at 7 o'clock. So it's up in the southeast, and it just keeps climbing higher all night, of course. And this next week or so presents the best opportunities to enjoy those night sky treasures without the bright light of the full moon, because the moon's coming up late now and stays up all day. So these are some of the things to look forward to over the next week. And of course, keep a look at what Lisa offers up. Lisa's Look Up on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You can follow her at Ruby Moonbeams as well, and Lisa always puts up a nice chart for what's coming up over the next month. So I recommend you go follow Lisa there. That's all I've got to say about this week. So not a whole lot happening this week as far as events go, but that'll soon change. as we move ourselves into our spring season, there'll be a lot to announce for next month, and leading into March as well. So we've got a lot of things moving their way towards us as we move towards them, I guess. So anyway, okay, let's go from there to photos because we're into 9:25, so we got to get through these pretty quick. I'll get my photos open, and I just need to get my photo notes open.
Yeah, coming into March too, it's we're getting back into galaxy season, so
Right.
a lot of the galaxies are going to be pretty much the end of February, moving into March. And
Yes.
also for those who have never done a Messier marathon, usually March is around that time of year. If you want to try one, where you can see all the Messier objects, there's 110 of them, all in one night.
Yeah.
There are specific dates that you can do that. But that happens in March.
We should try for that this year, maybe.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Just need some clear sky. Okay, let's take a look at some of the photos that we got here tonight. If we can pull them down to here and make sure everybody can see them. We all good?
Oh,
Waiting to see it up on, I see it on Facebook. I don't see it on YouTube, guys.
I see it. Yeah.
Oh, there's, okay. Yep, coming up. Okay, so.
The ISS, is it?
It is, yeah. Got a good morning, Chris. Just wanted to share this shot I got of the ISS passing by late last night from my back deck. This is from Brad Perry.
Very cool.
Thanks for the heads up about this one. He said I wouldn't have known about it otherwise. It was very cool to see it turn up right on schedule. Yeah, so it was a nice pass last night. I tried offering it live and I missed. It was coming from just a little bit different direction than I was at. Of course, I was up to my waist in snow, trying to work my way through the snowbank with a tripod, trying to point straight up. Anyway, I caught it as it was going straight over the head, but it was really quite nice, and the evening before was nice as well. So there are still some passes coming up throughout the week, so you might still want to get out and enjoy it. But this was shot with a Sony A6000 16mm f3.5 ISO 3200, 18 8-second exposures combined in Photoshop. Well done.
Very nice.
Very nice, Brad.
Okay. That explains it. Yeah, that's
There
cool.
you go. Nicely done. Lisa sent this one in. Lisa says, hi, Chris, something cool I wanted to share from Saturday. I've been paying attention to libration of the moon, which is, of course, the moon wobbles it a little bit like a top every month, so we can kind of peek around the corner a little bit on either side throughout the moon cycle. I've sort of started working on Rask's Isabel Williamson Lunar Observing Program, which Rask has a lot of free programs that are great to take up. I got lucky, she said, and the clouds parted just enough for me to catch a glimpse of some of the features of the western border of the near and far side of the moon. I've learned that when accounting for libration, ultimately 59% of the moon is visible at some point. She said this photo was taken with a Canon SX70 HD, heavily cropped and enhanced to assist with image viewing.
Very nice.
Very nice, yeah.
Great details too.
Yes, for
Yeah.
sure. Good job, Lisa. And this one, she said, hi, Chris, I really love how this turned out. I was originally trying to capture the moon and the beehive, M44, if there was any chance of it not being washed out. But then the clouds rolled in and began to paint this dreamy image that I really liked a lot. A Jersey aurora, she says. So top to bottom, the 98% waning gibbous moon sitting there. Castor and Pollux here, the twins of Gemini, and Procyon of Canis Major down here, or Canis Minor. And the clouds begin to paint the early morning sky over New Jersey. So there's where we should be sitting, all blanketed in. Thank you for giving us a forum to learn, have fun, share, and create a community. So it was with an iPhone 13, ISO 2500, 34mm f1.6, 1/5 of a second, and captured on the 19th at 4:03 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thanks, Lisa.
Very nice.
Good
Love it.
shot.
Beehive yourself.
Beehive. Oh, beehive.
Yeah, oh, beehive.
Beehive. This one comes from Corinne McDonald. Corinne says, hi, Chris, shot of tonight's moon, Fujifilm X-T4 ISO 320 f5 52mm 175th second, processed in Photoshop. Nice shot.
That's, you know
Nice
what?
shot.
That's probably the nicest part of the sky. Just before it gets to that blue, like this would be looking east,
Yes.
looking west. You would get that veil of really dark blue to yellow to, it's just amazing. So this is probably the best time of night to be out, and she captured it very well.
She did,
That
yeah.
pink sky, oh, and it's just beautiful.
They call it the Belt of
Very
Venus. The Belt of Venus, that's what it's called.
Above the Venus.
Anne Labuche got this one, the ISS, last night. So there it was again.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
It is so cool to get that.
It is. And Carol
Yeah.
Bean shot this one, the ISS from Friday
Oh,
night.
there it is again.
Right on.
Once again, yeah. A lot of people are enjoying that view the
Yeah.
last couple of nights. So nice to be able to watch it and to take your kids out too and show them, hey, look, there's 7 astronauts on that thing traveling at 8 kilometers per second.
Yeah. And last week, Rosanna showed us where they're going to bury it.
She did, yeah, exactly. This one was shot by Joey Craswell, shot of Venus in the morning sky. There you go. So, yeah, very
Yes, sir.
bright. Easy to pick out. Like it's the morning star. It's minus 4.6 right now. That's crazy magnitude. So it's brighter
Yeah.
than Jupiter ever is. And
Yeah.
it's the 3rd brightest object in the sky behind the sun and the moon. So it's really showing its ways there now for sure. The next one up was from Erin C. Robinson Tippett. She said I was out
Oh,
just
look at
before sunrise with my pups. It's frigid yet beautiful, especially when the skies are clear here on PEI. The setting moon basking in the glow of the awakening sun. There you go.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so that's that belt of Venus, that pinkish
Yeah.
purple color, and all that is really sunlight shining off the bit of vapor that's on this side of the sky, right?
Very
It's
nice.
almost like a mirror reflecting it back over. Joey shares this one. Joey's getting adapted now he bought a scope there for his daughter for Christmas, and he's adapting himself to new fits. So here he is.
that's
Next,
terrific.
he says,
Sure.
upgrades arriving one by one. He says,
And they never end.
and he says, yeah, and he says that darn cat. So we know what that's all about. We keep
Yeah.
teasing that's our cats that are pushing the purchase button on the stuff. So speaking of cats, here's Kathy Adams.
That's awesome.
Shot. 1 second here. I think I got hers right up next. Kathy's shot coming right here. Kathy talks a lot about the cats. Yeah. She says, "Hi, Chris. Well, the weather has not at all cooperated this week here. I was able to grab a shot of the wolf moon, but the nights have been either too cloudy or way too cold. Definitely looking forward to spring." I think we all are, Kathy. Great shot, though.
That picture just gives you the chills.
It does. Yeah. It makes you
like
cold
Look cool.
just looking at it.
I love it.
Beautiful.
Very nice.
Yeah.
This one from Chris Benoit. I grabbed this from the Astro Imaging group there. A wolf moon, he said. One shot was all I. Oh no, that's not it. I'm sorry. Where is it? Here. Double take. He said. My first ever. Yes, the sun and the moon together. So nice work.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
Great work. Nice work.
Very nice.
looks great.
Look at the sunspots.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Oh, isn't it? Yeah, it's wonderful to see
It's
all
just
those.
pepper.
And we're just
Yeah,
early in the
and-
cycle.
And there's something that to keep in mind too, if anybody was ever curious. Our perspective from Earth, even though the sun is way larger than the moon, our perspective from Earth is they're basically the same size.
Yeah.
Virtually, yeah.
The moon is 400 times closer to us than the sun, and it's 400 times smaller in diameter, so they look virtually the same size. And that's why we get the opportunity of having the moon cover the sun and have a total solar eclipse.
Right.
We're living in the right times for that, for sure.
Yeah. But just give you an idea, like whatever you're shooting the sun with or the moon, you can always shoot the sun because you're going to get the same. So whatever camera that you framed the moon with, you can use it for the sun.
Awesome. Nice stuff. Good stuff, Chris. Doing
Yeah.
well.
Good work.
Stefan Picard sent this one in. Stefan says, "Hi, Chris. Here's my capture of last Sunday's near full moon. Braved the cold to manually operate my intervalometer on my camera as the setting was 1/200th of a second, as it doesn't work by itself when it's set below 1 second shots. So I stood there in almost minus 30 degrees, good for you, and snapped 87 separate shots, counting 3 seconds in between each shot. Wow, those must have been long 3 seconds.
That's dedication.
You bet.
He's a trooper. He's a trooper.
Yeah, he said he took a little special beverage to warm him up after. I don't blame you at all.
How's that hot chocolate? I don't know.
Great results,
Something to
Stefan.
lubricate the parts. That's
You
all right.
bet. Great results, though. Thank you. Jamie,
Well
why not send this one in? She said, "Hi, Chris. It's been too cold or cloudy to get observing this week." Understood, Jamie, for sure. But I found some photos to share. The first was taken November the 11th, 2021, of the daytime first quarter moon from the beach I take my dog to. The second shot here was taken December 7th, 2021 of Jupiter, the 15.8% waxing crescent moon, and Venus from my office parking lot as I was leaving work. Both were taken with my iPhone 8. So see, iPhone 8, there's a quality shot you're getting. So, and that's what you want. I mean, there's 2 planets and a moon. Great.
Oh yeah.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Nice stuff. Matthew Dupre sent this one in Moon Rising last night here. Miramichi says so. Isn't that nice?
Wow.
Yeah, you got the sun dogs, pillar almost.
Yeah.
And you can. I wonder if they had a larger field of view, if there would have been another bow on top. I wonder.
He's got one right over here. Like there's,
Yeah, that's a good question.
it's a moon bow, eh? Yeah.
Yep,
So there's
yeah,
one
there's one
there,
on each side.
one there. Yeah, way over.
Yeah, those are the
Yeah, they
dogs.
probably
but I
could have one up
wonder-
top.
If it
Yeah.
goes into a full circle, you got snowstorm coming.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
That's a great shot.
there's been so much moisture in the air lately. It's hard to tell, right? So
Yeah.
great shot though. Thanks, Matthew.
Fantastic.
Who else we get now? We got Annie Labuche is coming up next. These ones I think she sent in to me a while back, but I had to go back and dig them up. Area. She says, "Bonjour, Chris. Thought it was fun to see how the moon can be seen differently depending on the exposure of your camera too. These pictures were taken the same day or evening, January the 6th. First was at 4 p.m. The second was taken at 5:40 p.m. and the third was at 5:30 p.m. Should have
Wow.
been the other way
Either
around. Sorry.
side.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, Nikon Coolpix P1000, setting on the moon mode, have all the specs, seconds, millimeter aperture, but on the moon mode, they're sometimes a bit too detailed and not regular settings like in the photo of my camera. She says also got Jupiter with a couple of its moons. I think that's coming up next. Is it? Might be next. This is her phone settings anyway. She was capturing it.
Yeah.
She was capturing it.
Yep.
Sweet.
And another pic there of the moon, and she had Jupiter and its moons here. So
There you
well
go.
done.
Nice. Yes, sir.
Not bad for a camera.
Well, man.
Not bad at all.
No, she's doing well.
And we get this one from not that one, not yet. I want to get this one up
Not
first.
yet.
I think. I think I'd add this one. Open with. I think it's this one. Will open it. I think. Just bear with me there. Okay, so I gotta drag it down. Wrong spot. Where'd it go? Just 1 second. Bear with me. I gotta find it. No, it's not there. Where'd it go? I'll try one time. Try it again. Just a sec. Open with media player.
It's like sticking your hand in the drawer, hey?
Yeah.
Yeah, like that TV show Lost in
Where
Space.
is that?
Where did that go? Oh, there it is.
I stick my hand in the drawer, the cat closet, because it's sleeping in the drawer.
Well, I don't want that dragged down. There it goes. Okay, I think I got it here. So this is an ISS capture from January 21st.
Oh, yeah. Look at that.
So you can watch it here as it travels across. It's hard to catch it against anything else, but we can tell that it is the ISS and it is moving in her frame.
Yes, sir.
Wow.
That's tough to stay on target to get that. Believe
Well,
me.
it's up there for a little while. It's surprising how 3 or 4 minutes, how tired your arms are.
Yeah.
Trying to track something. Huh?
That might have been last night's.
Look at the flicker, too.
Yeah. Just the moisture in the air, right?
Yeah.
So bright. The panels are so bright. So. And just about done there.
It never gets old finding that and watching it come
No.
across the sky.
That was from Andrew and Tiffany 7. So thank you very much for sharing that with us.
Well done.
And
Yeah.
one last picture, I think. Yeah, this one here. Break it down.
There she
There.
be.
There she be. Well, this is from Mr. Paul Owen. Tell us about the
Yeah.
picture, Paul.
Yeah, well, first of all, this particular image is of the horse head in the flame. And if Chris, if you want to use your mouse,
Mhm.
and you can show them where all attack is.
Right
No,
there. Oh,
next one up.
Up here?
No.
Oh, that's, no, what? Here.
No, up, up.
Oh, here. Oh, on the
There
deck.
you
Yeah,
go.
sorry. Yeah, on the deck. Yes.
There's
Okay,
on
right.
the deck.
On the deck, on the land.
So,
Yep. Okay.
so if you look at all attack, then you move to your right. There's another bright star. There you go. And then and it's not in the field of view, but there's another star. But that is the Orion's belt. So when you're looking at the Orion itself, that's the actual belt that you're looking at. Now on the position of Alnitak, which is that really bright star there, that's where the Horsehead and the Flame Nebula sit. There's other things you can see in and around there too, but those are the main things that people look for. And in the wintertime, this is probably one of the most photographed nebulas in the night sky. And it's probably the one that a lot of people, especially as kids growing up, would remember the most because that dust, that whole bunch of dust you see there has the form of the horse head. It took me, that's about 8 hours worth of data on this particular target. And it took me almost a month to get it because we've had just awful skies. So I get an hour here, an hour there. And anyway, I'll have more to do on it yet, but it turned out pretty nice. And it's this year's rendition of the Horsehead. And I like to shoot that every year.
Yeah.
And it's certainly an amazing target to look at. And if you have the astronomer's backyard, what's it called, Chris? The
Astronomer Backyard Telescope. No,
I think it's called the guide, the Astronomer's Backyard Guide.
Backyard, yeah.
By Terrence Dickinson and the photographer. my brain's slipping me. I'm tired. But anyway, on the 3rd edition, they have this on the cover, and I've always been inspired to shoot that shot. Alan Dyer, that's his name.
Alan Dyer,
I've
yes.
always been inspired to shoot that shot, and that's what inspired me to shoot it. So there it is.
Yeah.
The Horsehead
Awesome.
Nebula.
Beautiful.
Beautiful.
Great capture.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
So there you go. Paul will sell you that data for $100. And you can work on it yourself. And from there, if you want to send photos into us, we love to getting them. As you can see, just send them into SNAS at astronomybythebay.ca or Sunday Night Astronomy Show at gmail.com, and we will be happy, very happy to display them here for you. So
Happy,
call
happy.
that happy, happy. Happy, happy, joy, joy. Okay,
Happy.
well, we're into, look at us, into 9:40. Goodness,
Wow.
sorry, folks.
Long show today.
Long show. But I hope we covered a lot of material that you can understand and you'll be able to play back later. And we did want to get into why it was astrophotography on a tight budget, and I think we've explained ourselves as well as we can for that. So anyway, next week's show we'll talk about this week. I'll put up a post early in the week. We'll get together, 3 of us, and talk about what we're going to talk about next week. But anyway,
Send suggestions.
Send suggestions. Yeah, there we go. Send suggestions.
Give us something to talk about. Like we don't have anything to talk about.
So in closing then tonight, our special thanks again to Rosanna for her continued contributions, and for all of you who have shared our broadcast. We really do appreciate you sharing out the broadcast to everybody else as well. Thank you once again for your continued support, being on here with us. And remember, we do love getting your photos. So Sunday Night Astronomy Show at gmail.com, or just send them into my Facebook page, and I've been going through there, grabbing them all afternoon. So for now then, from Mike and Paul and I, we wish you clear skies, and we wish you to stay safe, please. We'd like to see you here again next week. And as we would like to say, guys, please keep your coats.
Can I put a little plug in before we go?
No, sorry.
I've opened last week. I started officially my YouTube channel, and it's called what is my YouTube channel called? Just kidding. No, it's called Universal Time with Paul Owen. And anyway, just type in Universal Time with me, and you'll find it. And there's a whole explanation of what it is I'm doing and what I'm up to. And I have another video that's my very first video that's pretty much ready to go. That should be airing next week. But Universal Time with Paul Owen, check it out.
Awesome. Yep. Everybody check that out. Universal Time with Paul Owen on YouTube. Anyway, we're all tired. Yeah. It's been a great show. So, as we'd like to say, guys, keep your scopes pointed up.
Yeah, we were already there. Pointed out.
Cue the music. Cue the music, Mr. Paul.
Please.
Thanks, everybody, for joining us.
You can do that.
Night, everyone.